A very good evening and thanks for clicking on to the Tuesday edition of Vogan's European Outlook. Hope everybody is doing well and keeping warm out there. Certainly very busy times at the moment across the UK weather scene at the moment. So here's a tweet by Dr. Simon Lee, based in New York, but a British chap, and he put out this tweet just a little bit earlier showing that happy dripping paint day. What does that mean? It means that basically we have now completed the response from stratosphere into the troposphere from the major sudden stratospheric warming, the initial wind reversal within the zonal mean winds at 10 millibars has now trickled all the way down through the column, and lo and behold, 2 weeks after the event, we've got snow on the ground, we've got cold northerly winds, and we're expecting the coldest night of 2023. It's no coincidence that we are seeing this cold weather at the moment based on what happened some 2 weeks ago. Very interesting stuff indeed. Today, the negative NAM in the troposphere is strongly coupled to the negative NAM in the stratosphere. In other words, the zonal winds reversed from west to east to west, and now they've came all the way down through the column into the 500 millibar pattern. So it basically means we've completed the response from that major strat warming, and indeed it has delivered a cold spell for the British Isles. The question, of course, is how long does it last? Well, this is, of course, the mean sea level pressure anomaly chart here of the GFS for the Northern Hemisphere. And you can see here that we have got the big, strong blocking area of high pressure. So, of course, we had that relentless area of high pressure stuck over the UK. That is now out over Greenland and over the Baffin Straits as a negative NAO signal. We've got, of course, all the negative underneath, displaced jet stream, storm track, cold air coming down straight out of the Arctic region here. So we're pulling our air in from a source north of Svalbard around this area of high pressure directly into the British Isles. And interesting times, of course, when you've got an active Atlantic storm track. Yes, we do have the Atlantic involved, but it is displaced far enough south that it's allowing the block of cold air to become anchored over the British Isles here. Of course, some areas of block and high pressure are these, so-called cold spells that have been anticipated in the past. The storm track has been a little bit too far north, and therefore it's not allowed the Arctic air to progress all the way down over the British Isles here. Of course, we're flirting between Arctic and the Atlantic across the far southern portion of England and Wales. Here we've got a mix of rain, sleet, snow, messy conditions as areas of low pressure will track through the English Channel during the course of tomorrow and into Thursday morning. Then we've got another feature comes a little bit further north, and that is going to provide a significant snow threat to northern portions of England as well as Scotland, including the Central Belt. So we'll look at the details in just a second, but this, of course, is the consequence of that major sudden stratospheric warming down at sea level. And it has, of course, been something that had been forecasted for a good 2 weeks now. And I'm very pleased, in a sense, to see this overall idea, this overall forecast come to fruition. Always makes you a little bit nervous when you make a call. People, on social media love to catch you out, love to try and see where you get things wrong. But I can safely say that it has materialized this time around. It doesn't always happen. Of course, only 70% of major sudden stratospheric warmings deliver cold spells to the British Isles here. And I think through the first 15 days of the month, we're going to have enough of a cold anomaly that even if we get a pullback, and I think we will get a pullback towards the 18th through 20th of March, there will be enough cold through that first 15 to 20 days of the month that the month will simply nowhere near average or above average temperature wise. It will be a below average month overall. And then it'll be interesting to see with the major southern stratospheric warming and the long-lived effects that sometimes this can have. It'll be interesting to see whether we get more cold during the month of April. So that's another story for another day. But this is the 850 temperature anomaly chart here, and you can see that we're pulling our air straight out of the eastern Arctic around the blocking area of high pressure over Greenland, Baffin Straits, and right down the chute and into the UK and Ireland here. So very interesting weather to speak about at the moment. And of course, if you haven't already done so, please hit that subscribe button. Stay tuned. I'll look at not just what's going on, in the here and now, but the build up to a pattern, the evolution of a pattern. I try to explain to you exactly how we got to this stage now that we're at. So don't miss out. Please hit that subscribe button and also hit the bell for each a notification of each upload. I do try to do a video pretty much every single day. Sometimes I miss the odd day, but generally, especially when there's plenty of things going on, I do tend to do a daily video upload, generally between 5 and 6 p.m. each evening. So this is off the CFSV2, the upcoming 7-day period. So this is taken out the 7th, which of course is today, through the 14th of the month. So that's then reaching the middle portion of March, of course, below average, firmly across the board. Very cold compared to average across the north. You notice here that we've got slightly above average across the southwest. That is, of course, because we've got influence of the Atlantic. Interesting enough, the CFSV2 even has us colder than average between the 14th and the 21st of March. So that's us getting beyond the period that I was talking about for a potential cold, a return to more milder Atlantic conditions. So this is the response that southern stratospheric warmings have. It is long-lived periods of cold. We are going to get a temporary warm-up, I think, towards the weekend, possibly. We've got that system that comes in. I'll explain it in just a second here. There's a lot of things in my head, and I'm trying to make sure that I don't forget anything. We'll talk about the details in just a second here. I'm getting carried away. I'm getting excited, I suppose, at everything taking place. So this is, of course, the period week 2. Then we'll see the reversal, according to the CFSV2, period between the 21st and the 28th of March. Back to above average temperatures, but I think when all is said and done, the month will firmly wind up above, below average temperature wise here. So let's have a look at the details. Let's have a look at the ECMWF, because I quite often look at the GFS, and have a look and see what we're looking at for the next several days here. Very interesting scenarios coming up, and we'll try and see if I can get to the right period here. So this is the mean sea level pressure anomaly, the 850 temperature anomaly here. Let's have a quick look at this actually, because there's that area of low pressure that is bringing potential blizzard conditions, gales, very deep area of low pressure crossing Denmark and into the central portion of Europe here. We've got, of course, this flood of Arctic air coming south straight out of the Arctic region here. We'll play through the loop, and as you can see here that we've got systems riding underneath, trying to pull warmer Atlantic air into the picture here. And of course, as it does so, with the moisture bumping into the cold air, we've got snow potential across the far south of the British Isles during Wednesday and into Wednesday evening. We could have a covering of snow, especially over higher elevations. Then we've got a secondary feature that comes in, and this is actually quite a good representation. Actually, I don't often show this 850 anomaly chart here, because you can see the isobars, which indicate, of course, the areas of low pressure that are involved in the pattern, plus the air mass that you're talking about here. So this is the anomaly, not the 850 temperature itself. But you notice here that we start to warm things up over the bulk of England and Wales, and of course with the track of this system staying to the south of, generally from about Birmingham to Manchester, it looks as if the centre of that low is not going to get much further north than that. So what's important about that is that we remain in the colder air across the north of England, southern and central Scotland. So therefore, precipitation is likely to stay more or less as snow, maybe a sleety mix if we get a little bit of that milder air mixing in across the mid levels of the atmosphere a little bit further north. But the potential here is for a significant snow event across the north of England, southern and central Scotland. Through the central belt between Glasgow and Edinburgh, we could be looking at a disruptive event in terms of snow. That feature then pushes to the east, and we actually open the floodgates to another surge of bitterly cold air from the north here. So we get a reinforcing shot of cold air. What could be quite interesting about this is that we've laid a fresh blanket of snow cover, and if we get these cool winds, we get enough reduction in wind, clear skies. We could be talking about some exceptionally cold temperatures, actually, something that we haven't seen in the month of March for quite some time. Temperatures tonight, by the way, could hit 13 minus 14 quite easily across the northern portions of the British Isles. Now, notice here, this is Sunday, and the ECMWF does have milder air winning the battle, and then we have a surge of much milder conditions before we get the return of something a little bit colder here. But it's quite interesting, actually. The CFSV2 indicates that we stay firmly below average week 1, so the 7th through the 21st. Then the period after that week 2. But it's interesting how the CFSV2 is indicating that milder air is going to become a little bit more of a player during the second half of the weekend and into next week, with a little bit of a back and forth here. So there is still an element of uncertainty in the models with regards to the details. That's quite interesting, of course, to see. So I'm showing you everything. I'm not going to just show you what I want to show you and be biased towards a certain thing. I'm trying to give you the reality. I'm giving you what I'm seeing without hyping things up and exaggerating anything, because you do get that. Of course, you only have to look at some of these tabloids now, and they come away with some outrageous statements and whatnot that have very little meteorological backing. So this is, of course, during the course of today, we'll continue to have that northerly wind, plenty of snow showers. In the sunshine, the snow at low levels is certainly melting, despite the fact that the air temperature is only 1-2 degrees at best. There is a strength of the sun now that means that we are wiping out the snow cover at low levels, but of course we're replenishing that, especially at night time when the column cools. Then we've got, of course, this mess. This is during the course of tomorrow morning and through the day tomorrow. We've got moisture bumping into the cold air. We are going to see a fleeting transient snow event potentially through the southern portion of England, possibly into South Wales also. So we need to keep our eyes on that. There is Met Office warnings for that. We've got several features, actually. There's a couple of features that run through the English Channel, and we're going to have rain probably right at the coast and then snow inland, especially with any kind of elevation. Then in comes the next feature. This is quite a deep area of low pressure, by the way, but notice here that it has heavy snowfall, northern portions of England. Notice the ECMWF doesn't have that moisture reaching all the way into the central belt of Scotland. So even only a couple of days out, there is still uncertainty with regards to the exact track, how much moisture, how deep the area of low pressure is. There is still elements of uncertainty when it comes to the models here. And of course, then we get the return of colder air coming down. Area of high pressure develops. This is early Saturday morning, by the way, and I'll tell you what, temperatures could be even colder come Saturday morning than what we're expecting tonight, tomorrow night. And we are going into double digits below freezing. There's no question about it over the next several nights here. And before I run out of time, as per usual, let's have a quick look at the snow chart of the ECMWF. Let's go back to the current period, and you can see exactly what takes place. Looking at the south, we've got a little cover in the snow here. We could have a good 10 centimetres of snow over high parts of the southwest, as you can see here, mounting up quite significantly, actually, into Thursday morning, if that model proved correct. And then there's that area of low pressure that comes in, and we get a more widespread snow focusing over the central portion of England, if you notice here. So, anyway, ran out of time. As per usual, please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already done so. And stay tuned. I'll be back again tomorrow with another update. Have a great evening. Stay warm. Bye for now.